Hi everybody, I'm Phil Fatika. Welcome once again to the Millcreek Government Channel. Joining me today is Melinda Meyer. I think you know her. If not, you should know her, and after today, you will know her. Melinda represents Erie Yesterday. Great organization, especially if you're looking for something to do and you went, I didn't know that. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for the invitation to be here.
We appreciate it. So you got 4 days. What is Erie Yesterday?
Good question. Erie Yesterday is an organization that I think people maybe aren't familiar with. But the organization has actually been around since 1981. What it is a consortium or a grouping of historical societies and museums within Erie County. So 30 years ago, a number of museums got together and decided it was a good idea to begin to work collaboratively, to share program ideas, to network, share resources, solve problems together. And so since that time, the consortium has actually grown from maybe 8 to 10 original members to now I believe we're up to maybe 20 organizational members.
I have to tell you that this is a great little booklet here. It's called Erie Yesterday, a pocket guide to Erie area historical sites. And if you're looking to take your friends, relatives, somewhere when they come to town and you go, well, where can we go beside the peninsula? Or where can we go beside? Get a hold of this booklet, and this will list 20 some places, I believe, at least.
More than that,
yeah.
Close to 25.
Great places to go to and check out, because it's amazing how deep our history goes. But how do they get these?
These brochures are actually available through Visit Erie, so people can stop by the Intermodal Transportation Center to pick them up. The Erie Maritime Museum has copies of the Erie Yesterday brochure, the Tom Ridge Environmental Center, all of the organizational members, which folks can find on Erie Yesterday's website, which is...
that is what?
ErieYesterday.org. www.erieyesterday.org.
Erie Yesterday, one word.
Erie Yesterday is one word.
Now, let me open this up and tell you that you get this. It's just, it lists the organizations and then it spots them on the map as to where you go. So I think I'd like to start with the Erie Art Museum. Okay, pretty good. No, I don't know, maybe the Watson Curtsey Mansion. How about the Erie Planetarium? How about the Firefighters Historical Museum? That's what we're talking about here. The Erie Maritime Museum with the flagship, Niagara. Yeah, lots and lots of places there. The Museum of Erie GE History, which is, again, people go, what was that? Huh? I didn't know that.
These are all sites that, again, are right here within Erie County. They're part of the Erie County community. And when you think about the towns, villages, cities within Erie County, chances are there is either a museum or historical society associated with each one of them. So
Union City Historical Society, Corey Area Historical Society, Wattsburg Historical Society, Hornby School Restoration, which is in Wattsburg, the Lakeshore Railroad, which is in, I believe, Northeast.
Correct.
Yes. So it's not just Erie, just the center thing. It's, well, as the map shows us here, it's all of Erie County. It's something significant about calling this Erie Yesterday. Does this go along with, we are bulldozing our legacies? We're paving, what's the song that was popular years ago? Pave paradise and put up a parking lot?
Put up a parking lot, yeah.
Yeah.
The name...
All cities doing this? Is redevelopment just steamrolling and bulldozing all of these things that you can't get back?
You know what, that is a challenge for those cities or communities that for one reason or another maybe aren't recognizing the fact that these historic buildings or historical organizations are worthwhile. Certainly that's a challenge, but if you look to what some of the redevelopers are saying today, some of the historic preservationists, what they're saying is that people really want their historic buildings, historic communities preserved. And the reason is that they're aesthetically pleasing. People love to live in places that are beautiful and appealing. So, you know, history is beautiful and appealing. Did you know that?
I did. I did, because there are places where you want to visit, and well, Las Vegas has the Strip, yeah, but then you go downtown, what it used to be like. You have Old San Juan that people want to go and visit to. You have San Diego, where people say, no, I want to see what it used to look like 200 years ago. And we're kind of like that too. We're coming up on that Perry 200 celebration, which we are valuing where we came from, and we're holding on to that legacy that we have here as a lake port, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So when you go to work, what do you do?
Well, working with Erie Yesterday is a volunteer position. The organization is all volunteer. And
I was just going to ask you that.
And how the organization is managed is all of the organizational members that are part of Erie Yesterday, they nominate or appoint one of their members to be their organizational's rep, their representative. We actually pull together all of those organizational representatives once a month. We meet to talk about what the group wants to do as a whole, like through Erie Yesterday. And then this is also a time where they can each share a little bit about what their own organizations are doing. So what their new exhibits are looking like, what maybe some of their new donations have been. You know, all of these sites are getting new and exciting things dropped off at their doorstep regularly. And so it's really fun to see what people are donating to these museums. So we talk about all sorts of things.
I hear you saying you're looking for volunteers.
Always.
How do they do that?
You know what, the best way to get in contact with Erie Yesterday specifically is probably through the website.
Again?
Which is www.erieyesterday.org, and there's a contact page on the website, and that's probably the best way to get involved with Erie Yesterday. And then of course, all of the member sites, they're always looking for volunteers. So for people who live in Edinburgh, there are a number of choices. They could volunteer with the Edinburgh Area Historical Society. There's the Hurry Hill Farm and Maple Syrup Museum. And then there's Goodell Gardens and Homestead. And that's true for every community in Erie County.
Erie is not unusual then in the aspect that all metropolitan areas such as ours are all very much involved in maintaining and keeping its legacy, its yesterdays. Is that become, it's never really maybe gone away. It was always there beneath the surface, but now we really, because the people like me are getting a little bit more mature and saying, wait a minute, this is very important stuff we have here. We don't want to throw this away, because people will go to Europe and touch a building and go, oh my gosh, that building is 600 years old. And no developers think, well, we'll knock that down and put up condos. You know, people go to Europe to see what it was 1,000 years ago. I remember our neighbors going to Gdansk, Poland, and you go there and it's 900 years old. Or you go to Paris,
which is amazing, right?
Yeah, you go to Paris and you go, oh my gosh, you know, Paris is older than this country, you know, and people revere that. How did we lose that? How did we lose that? It's old, it's bad, get rid of it.
You know, I think today in our society we have so much that is disposable.
Throwaways.
Yeah, I think that is contributing to that. But you know, there has been a natural ebb and flow when it comes to society's interest in history and historic preservation. And it's events like the 200-year commemoration of, or the 200th anniversary commemoration of the Battle of Lake Erie that kind of brings history and brings historic preservation, cultural heritage back into people's minds. And so, you know, we saw that in 1995 with the bicentennial celebration of the city of Erie. There was this raised awareness of our local heritage, and people rallied together for parades and celebrations and exhibits and events and all sorts of fun things. And then maybe it began to wane, and we've got now this Perry 200 commemoration coming up, and the community's once again excited about history. But I think the key for preserving local history and preserving those historic sites and structures in our communities is really to get all generations involved in public history. And if it's taught right, if it's shared correctly, I think everyone is going to find something to be interested in.
Is it being taught right in schools?
I don't know that local history is a focus in our local schools right now.
Our oldest grandson they were just in Washington, D.C. He's 11, and he was fascinated. You know, he thought that was just cool as anything. Go to the Smithsonian especially, but to see the Lincoln Monument, you know, that was a big deal. There's a sense of history that he likes that, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering that ebb and flow, right? But to continue and to inculcate in the people who we were, so we understand who we are, so we understand where we're going.
Absolutely.
Okay. Again, this is Melinda Meyer. She is the Chief Cook and Bottle Washer for Erie Yesterday.
That's a good title.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll go with that.
All right, I like that one. No, really, do you have a title?
Currently president of Erie Yesterday. We've got a great executive team, great organizational representatives. So the organization is actually doing a lot right now. We've got a lot of collaborative projects that are going on right now.
Yeah. Again, this is part of a very great, nifty brochure they put out that says, you got people coming to town this summer and you're going, where can we take them that's unique? We haven't done this before. Gee, they'd like to. Well, you get a hold of this, and inside it tells you where you can go. It shows you the address. It even has a map. And in fact, I think most people today have GPSs in their cars or certainly on their cell phones. But in case, where can you pick these up? Again, Melinda.
These can be picked up at the Visit Erie's office, the Intermodal Transportation Center, the Tom Ridge Environmental Center, the Erie Maritime Museum, the Erie County Historical Society, and actually all of the sites that are listed in the brochure. All of the historical societies and museums within Erie County have these brochures to pick up. And then we also have them distributed at the rest centers and stops along like I-79, I-90. People can also pick these brochures up there.
I just happened to look at this, and every place that is available for us to visit, I never thought of the lighthouses. That's just the coolest thing, especially the lighthouse that is right there at Presque Isle, which we're going to be doing a show on here, I think, shortly. It is in need of restoration because somebody does live in it. Is that correct? And so you just can't go in for a visit. Hi, sorry to bother your dinner. But we have these incredible objects that other places don't have in the state, like lighthouses.
Yeah.
So you got the North Pier Light, which is not a house, just a light.
Just a light.
You got the Presque Isle Lighthouse, which is there. We got the Erie Land Lighthouse on Lighthouse Street, which is on the Lower East Side of Erie, and I know the people who live there, and they are so gracious that I understand tours come through and they welcome them. I mean, they're walking through their house and they welcome them. So my hat's off to the Scatellas, because they do that. And then maybe not so much of a lighthouse, but the Perry Monument, which is going to go through some changes because of the concert that they had last summer, because of Presque Isle. So if you went to the concert with Crosby, Stills, and Nash. And how about some of the covered bridges we have in our areas too? I mean, those are incredible. Everybody doesn't have these kinds of things to go to, and this can help you spot them and help you explore them, and you'll go along for a guide, won't you?
Oh, certainly.
Okay.
Certainly. You know, going back to the covered bridges,
please, yes.
You know, the Waterford Covered Bridge, which has been closed to vehicular traffic, it's been open to pedestrian traffic, but that's actually scheduled for restoration and renovation here within the next year.
Which is to me, another sign that we value this.
Absolutely.
We're not knocking it down. We're not closing it down. We're saying, no. We have to keep it going and restore it.
Absolutely. You know, a couple of years ago, we lost the Gudgeonville Bridge.
Fire.
By fire.
Set.
So now to see, you know, the Waterford Covered Bridge, to see the time and energy that's being put into saving it is really something special. That restoration is going to be so detailed. They're actually taking the bridge apart piece by piece. They'll be inspecting all of the different pieces of the bridge, replacing those pieces that need to be replaced, and then reassembling it in its original location.
Wow.
So it's quite a process.
It is. Wow. I always like to ask people this. Do you ever think you'd be doing this? Do Do you ever think this would be your passion? Because I get the feeling that you don't go to work.
No. This is a fun.
Yeah.
This is something that's fun. Actually, for me, I've been a history buff since the day I was born.
That was my next question. Were your parents, relatives around you, people around you as history oriented as you?
Probably not quite as much as me. I was the history nerd, the history geek, whichever terminology you prefer.
Good on Jeopardy questions?
Absolutely. But and I'm not original to Erie, so coming here to Erie and then kind of immersing myself in the history of this community has just been so much fun. There's so much here that even locals don't think about. We've got Charles Vernon Gridley, military hero, naval hero. We've got a park in the city of Erie named after Gridley.
Gridley Park.
We've got the school, Emerson Gridley Elementary School, named after Gridley. Wayne School is named after Anthony Wayne, also a military hero. Strong Vincent.
Whose statue is right outside the library.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's many places that you can do and bring your guests and say, we're going to have a scavenger hunt, see if you can find where this is located.
Absolutely.
Those kinds of things. I think my mother was very historically minded, more so than my father, and I think as I've gotten older, I've acquired some of that. I want to know about that. I need to know the history of that.
Yeah.
How did that happen? Who was this person? How did they make this happen? Those things have always they've begun to fascinate me. I'm leading toward my question now. Whenever guests come here, I always tell them make sure their cell phones are either off or muted or something. And in this highly technological era where you have, you got the iPads and the tablets and the smartphones and everything, is that going to drive people away from this sense of who we were? Because there's so much demanding of new. Tough question. You got 4 days to answer that one. This will be a doctoral dissertation here.
It could be. The technology that's available to us today is actually a resource or tool, if you will, for teaching people about local history and historic preservation. And so there are communities throughout the world that are doing really exciting things with this new technology. Some cities are using smartphone technology where apps are being created so that people can hold up their smartphone to a location within a city, and on their smartphone will appear a historic photograph, what that area of the city used to look like 100 years ago. So these new technologies can actually help teaching different generations about local history. Cell phones have been used for probably the last 5, if not 10 years for self-guided tours. There are a number of cities that have tours that you simply dial a cell number, and while you're on your cell phone walking through the downtown area, it's telling you about the buildings and the sites that you're walking by. So this technology, it's a tool we can actually use.
I know they use that in museums. You get the phone and you hit the button in front of the painting and it tells you about the painter and the painting. Yeah. And, my wife was born in San Francisco and her mother was from there. So when we visited there, one of the things we wanted to see was Alcatraz, we went to a historical place, wow. We weren't running to the new things. We were running toward what was it used to look like, kind of a thing, And I know what you're saying about that. The technology is driving this interest even deeper to say, here's what it used to be, and please keep it, you think?
I
please
think
preserve it?
I think so. If that's...
Are we good at doing that, Erie area? Are we good at keeping these kinds of things viable?
Sometimes. Sometimes. I think that all of us would agree that there are pieces of Erie history that we've lost over the years.
Can you name them? Do you feel comfortable naming them?
Well, there was once, the old federal courthouse that used to sit on State Street, right there at the corner of 6th and State, where the new federal courthouse is. If you go back and you look at some of those the older photographs of that federal courthouse, it was just a phenomenal building. You know, that's something that we'll never get back. Once those historic structures are taken down, they're never going to be reconstructed. And so, you know, I think it's important for us as a community to really think about saving what we have and how we can best do that.
How do you convince people who are developers, and I don't mean to use that word badly at all, to do that? How do you convince the people, the powers that be, that say, see this, tomorrow it's going to be that?
Yeah, you know what? Look at some of the current examples of adaptive reuse within the community. You can look at Level Place. You can look at Modern Tool. Modern Tool is, of course, in downtown Erie. It's right there at State and 4th Street. Modern Tool was originally built as a manufacturing building. And today it houses restaurants, it houses apartments. That's a great example of what we can do with our historic buildings. And just imagine if that building was gone. I mean, that building has so much character. It was originally built as a public market house. So when you walk through Modern Tool and you look around, you can kind of see what's left, or the shadows of the market house, and you can kind of put yourself in that 1890s position or time frame. But you know, I think we have to look at the positive examples within our community of the adaptive reuse. You know, the Dixon Tavern was saved. It's now offices. Right next door is.
And where's that located?
The Dixon Tavern is down at 2nd and French. Yeah. The Dixon Tavern and the building right next to it, which is Captain John Richards' house. Both of those are some of the oldest buildings in the city of Erie, and they have both been saved and are now being used as offices. Those are
part of the Underground Railroad system. Was part of the Dixon Tavern, I think.
You know, that's an urban legend.
Oh, it is?
It is.
Urban legend or urban myth?
We're going to say myth, yes. Okay. We're going to say urban myth. The Dixon Tavern was at one time owned by the city of Erie, and when it was owned by the city, it was operated as the Perry House. And it was a museum, and it was open to the public. And so what they did is they used the basement of that building to interpret Erie's Underground Railroad history. And so that tavern was never part of the Underground Railroad, but because they had this exhibit in the basement, most of the folks who visited that building recall it as an Underground Railroad site, but it wasn't.
Okay.
We can squash that myth here today.
Take my building and put it back here.
That's right.
Quickly, we got about a couple minutes left. People kill to live on those homes on West 6th Street that are part of old Millionaires Row.
Yeah.
Is that a fair statement? Some of them are broken into apartments, but they haven't been torn down.
They haven't been torn down, no. Some of them are in need of some TLC, but there are a number that have been saved, yes. We've got, 2 bed and breakfasts. We've got one that is the Watson-Curtsey Mansion, which is a public museum. A number of them are apartments, a number are office structures, so they've been saved, and that's a jewel for the city of Erie. Tourists actually come here and seek out
Absolutely, they look for this.
Road. They look for this, yeah.
They don't say, show me the new subdivision. Show me the way it used to be 130 years ago.
That's right.
This is Melinda Meyer. She's part of Erie Yesterday. You can find this brochure, again, where?
Visit Erie, the Tom Ridge Environmental Center.
Visit Erie's in the Intermodal Center.
In the Intermodal Center.
Across from the library.
The Maritime Museum, the Erie County Historical Society's buildings, the visitor centers on I-90, I-79.
Lots of places.
Lots of different places.
Thanks for bringing your knowledge with us.
Thank you for the invitation to be here.
Oh, it's our pleasure. We'll see you at one of these sites, I'm sure. Until then, I'm Phil Fatiga. Make sure you have a good day. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.